So you get a piece of paper that says you're the owner, so that if someone infringes and takes your lyrics, then you can sue them. So I covered UDIO's terms of service in detail because it's really important that we understand, for the music that you make on this platform, can you sell it? Can you put it on music platforms? Do you own it? Do you have copyright ownership in it? And you guys had a bunch of questions, so we'll kind of reiterate some of that, but also go through your actual questions.
So drop all of your questions. Have you guys tried UDIO? Have you tried Suno? Have you been liking the music that has been created out of it? Do you think does it terrify you? I would drop your comments right now.
So right out the gate, something I want to clarify is the question about copyright ownership. So as it stands right now, under the Copyright Act in the United States, 17 U.S.C. 102, it talks about works of authorship. So meaning, in order to have ownership in creative things like songs, you have to be a human, right? The author has to be human. And so the baseline of copyright is that you do not own anything that is AI created, even if you gave it the prompts, okay? So let's just clarify that right out the gate.
So kind of on that, the first one, these are questions that I've taken from the UDIO Exposed Terms of Service videos. Great video. After watching, I made a song using my lyrics in UDIO. How and where can I register the lyrics?
So if the lyrics are your original creation, then you can register them with the Copyright Office, which is copyright.gov. You do have copyright protection as soon as you make your lyrics. So that's a great thing about the Copyright Act. But you want to register everything with the actual Copyright Office. So you get a piece of paper that says you're the owner, so that if someone infringes and takes your lyrics, then you can sue them. Because if you don't have the piece of paper, you're not going to be able to sue, and it makes a big difference. You can get statutory damages, all kinds of stuff.
Here's one. What an effed up company. They require in writing that you credit them when posting an UDIO-generated song. Where's the credit for the millions of musicians they scrapped, stole, and robbed?
All right. So in the terms of service for UDIO, they do say if you use our platform and then you distribute what you make, the output as they define it, you have to credit us. So it's a contractual term. It's not like you may. Yes, you have to. And if you don't, you're in trouble. But anyway, so to the comments, and I spoke with Sync My Music, so Jesse with Sync My Music today, and he was just saying, he's like, yeah, so he goes, I think that these AI platforms are scrubbing, right? They're doing their spiders to go through Spotify and to learn and study all of the music. So to that person's comment of, well, what about their credit?
We were talking about air gigs, we were talking about Fiverr and some of these other companies that you do that for credit. And one of the companies that I'm working with, they have in there that, they want you to credit the artist on your things this way, via the name of the company that they're working for. But they suggested it. You said before, in UDIO, it's an actual thing that you have to do. In this other company, it says that we would like you to add our name to it, but just at the very least credit that. So just be looking at your terms of service. Somebody wrote, if you read this comment, you agree that I own your car. I thought that was pretty funny.
You guys are very, very creative. And then for those of you who are asking, so different countries have different copyright laws. And so in, for example, I think the UK is obviously different than the US. And what I'm thinking is on the next pass of this, I would like to start looking at different countries' laws, because I think, for example, in Japan, they are a lot more lax about this, and that they do provide copyright ownership in instances where the machine made it, where it is AI generated. And so I'm like, let's compare, right? So let's actually look at UK. Let's look at US. Let's compare to Canada.
This is another comment that I just absolutely love. You have to tell the audience that you use this platform. You also have to tell that you used a sampler machine and not real sounds. You also have to tell that you didn't play the drums, but a drum computer, and that you didn't grow the goat and killed the goat by yourself for the skin for the drums.
Well, and that even goes to music makers' comments. Well, what about chord generators, like easy keys? And so it's just this, right. Like, and I mentioned this on the UDIO video, and I'm like, some people will say, how is AI so very different than these other tools that you use to enhance your music and to create the music, where it's like a chord generator,
melody generator,
or even, effects, like stuff that you didn't actually make. You use something else to make it. Now, I understand there's a stretch there a bit to AI, but
No, and the thing of it is, we've been seeing a lot of comments kind of like this, as far as a common thread is like, what's the big deal? We are, being inspired by things all the time. We use, tools all the time. What is the difference? Like, we're just taking from AI who we were going to take something from anyway. So,
Right. Okay. And then the conversation is under fair use, right? So under the Copyright Act, the way it works is that fair use is a defense to copyright infringement. So they go, well, people go and get inspired by other people's music and other people's art. And so why can't AI go and get inspired so that the look and the feel is similar to that song, but it's not that song, so it's not copyright infringement. So, that's what some of these lawsuits are about right now. And we had like Sarah Silverman, she sued because she goes, I didn't give permission for you AI platforms to go and learn from my stuff. I worked really hard for this. You need to license it. And you have people coming out and saying, well, it's only fair that Udio and Suno go and get licenses in order to go and learn from other people's music. And
well, we talked about that a little bit with some of these labels we covered on stories about. These labels are in talks either with Google or they're generating their own AI type of platforms, and they're going to give their artists an opportunity to opt in to have their voices studied. We've already seen, Snoop Dogg is putting his voice out there to all kinds of AI companies. I mean, there's nothing that Snoop Dogg isn't reading or, you know what I mean, having some kind of evolve with his voice in AI. And we're seeing actors that are giving their likenesses to AI and generating this. And so labels are going to start doing this with their artists.
Real quick on this. So if you're interested in joining our music business course, we linked it. It's pinned as a comment, but it's also linked down in the description. But Jay Smith has a quick question. Yeah, how do I credit Udio at this point? Okay, so we can go back to the terms, but basically act reasonably to attempt to credit where applicable, right? So when
the distributors, when you're uploading the songs, when you're putting in the writers and the composition and all that kind of stuff, like that's where you would credit them.
Yeah, so reasonably work to credit. And, here's the thing. We went through the terms and it said Udio reserves the right to have a license to the stuff that you make, right? For their promotion and their efforts to whatever. So just know that, it's not just, I don't know how you guys feel about this. As far as I'm getting the sense that a lot of musicians and artists are okay with using these platforms and, but like if it's all, I didn't really make it, AI made it, like, that's what I want more feedback on. How do you guys feel about that?
Well, the thing of it is, artists kind of just have to live with their self and how they're feeling comfortable and their workflow and their pressures to compete and what kind of things they're going to meet. Now, I was just there was a lot of comments in the chat and on the video about just how, it's not real artists, like covers and remixes aren't real artists. There's always going to be that people that are, everybody has their own path. And that's the great thing about music, whether you use some of these tools, whether you use a chord generator, whether you use auto-tune, like you're creating and you're putting your thoughts and your ideas out there. Are there going to be people that take advantage of it? Sure. There are people already doing it. You hear about all these like black markets and these streaming labs in Sweden and stuff that are just working the system to launder money. Are there going to be people that do that? Sure. That's not who we're talking about, though. Here's a comment kind of about that. Glad you covered this, but I will say this. It's not so black and white. It's a lot of gray area. The art world has changed when tube paint was invented because artists didn't need to literally make their own paint. You could just buy it. Artists no longer create paint anymore. The world changed when the camera was invented. How do you think artists felt when all someone had to do was take a photo to use for the entire perfect painting? Were they considered artists? AI is just another one of these things that is changing the art world.
So look, in the conversation about just using AI, the lack of copyright, but, I kind of think that if we do see a change in regards to the fact that you don't have copyright in AI, but could there be? And I think what it would take is for like a Pepsi, a big corporation, to make something that is then made very valuable because it's put in a movie. It is something that, becomes like a hit song. And so they have a real reason to really fight this and take it all the way up to the Supreme Court. Like, that's what I foresee as far as having some kind of change where copyright would be included in AI. And if at all, it would be probably in the instance where we see it combined, which is part of what it kind of talks about with Udio. And I'm like, well, right now, in the version, you just make it and it's 100% AI. Well, when we combine our original music and it becomes combined together, you're supposed to disclaim this stuff, right? So to tell the Copyright Office the stuff that is AI made, so you can only get protection of your original stuff. And I'm like, at some point, I think that's going to be so merged that the argument will be, well, you created it, you prompted it, there was enough of your participation involved in order to give copyright. But that's not the state of the law right now. Music Attorney is your #1 legal resource for artists, producers, and record labels. Get contract templates, one-on-one legal advice, free master classes, and everything you need for your music business. Go to topmusicattorney.com.
Well, for you artists that are doing, if you guys are going to use AI, the artist in me is just like, try not to be just like super cheesy about it and just like straight up just take like a prompt and like, this is who I am. Like if you're like, I don't know, like at least do something to it, like for real or something. I don't know. I don't know how much I feel comfortable with all of this stuff. It's absolutely terrifying, but it's here. Like it's taking over. We've already seen how it's infiltrated into commercials already, AI music. And, we were kind of even talking last night a little bit about how, it's not necessarily going to affect like a lot of the little guys and stuff. And that's why you kind of really need to go to direct consumer. It's going to affect the people like that are like, like maybe like sing people, like the TV shows and stuff that are just kind of like smaller shows or like Lifetime shows or just random commercials and stuff like that. But the big blockbusters and the big corporations are still going to license out human release songs. And, to that also, I will say, sync isn't going to be dead for you. Sync isn't going to be dead. What's going to be important, though, is that you are building relationships with these people, because still everything is about people, and you are still innovative in creating. And if you're using AI, maybe you're using it to combine vibes that you never would have thought of before to see how it sound. And then you're creating your own vision of that based on it. But a lot of stuff that we listen to today is biting from everything else in some fashion. I do have a problem just going, give me a Halsey song, and then it gives me like a Halsey song. And that was my prompt. Like, give me a Halsey song about being sad or, whatever.
Hey, and then I also see Eric is in. I'm just gonna switch this out really fast. Eric's in the course. Welcome.
Fantastic. I wish I had a sound effect.
Yeah, I know, right? And look, what I said this in the UDIO terms of service video, and I just go, what you guys have to consider though is when we talk about like selling, meaning, you put your music out and you're putting it on streaming platforms, this doesn't include when you go to actually sell it later. And I go, last year we sold through my law firm $9 million of music catalog. And part of the process is the due diligence of proving that we own it. We have copyright, we have all the things. And so guess what? You're going to be kind of effed if you are trying to sell something and you're like, well, what are you going to do? Are you going to go and like lie and get the copyright and it's fraudulent? And like, this can go so badly. So really what I was saying is I go, in the short term, cool. There's ways to use this and cut costs for like businesses. We saw Red Lobster doing this, right? They're one of the biggest, first companies to use AI for their commercials. But in the long term,
those
really
songs
backfire for you.
Those Red Lobster songs sound like AI.
They weren't very good.
When people say that AI, I think they jumped the gun a little too quick. I think they should have waited.
They got excited.
2 months. Yeah. Here's a question. What if I train the AI on my voice, music style, and art stylings and anything else I've created? So that's interesting. And that's a conversation that I've heard people say is just, it's an interesting idea, as these developed and the different AI platforms, training on yourself and your music catalog, if you have one, and helping you just come up with, maybe you can't think of an idea for that 5th song or the 7th song to make your album or something. So you take the other 6 and go, what would kind of fit in the vibe of these kind of songs? And you get kind of a vibe. And then maybe you make your own vibe based on a vibe or something. I don't know.
I've tried to do Suno, and you need to put in effort to get a perfect song. It's not 2 clicks.
I haven't.
That was 2 hours. Lyric sounds.
Well, that's just a testament to it's not being ready. So The effort is now. So I haven't used Suno. I did try UDIO just so I can be a little kind of informed on it. And there's like a whole community of people that are just in AI, that are just doing AI music. You know, a lot of people are probably your little brother. Your grandma probably has some AI music that she's making on the channel. But they have their own little chart listings too. So
with our platform, we're giving you permission. And like, if that's what they're doing, okay, fine. I don't have a problem with that. But if they're using words like copyright, then I'm very worried about it being misleading and it's not actually any kind of copyright anything.
it helps with workflows in terms of speed and helps with expressing what you see in your mind. Next level creativity here is 100%. Like, I do see it from both sides. Mostly terrified, but I do see it from both sides.
Yeah.
I think that I like tools. I like tools to help me be more productive, to get more things done. Because when you're running a business yourself, when you are becoming a record label and you're responsible for not only putting out music and writing songs, but content and promoting and, you know, making sure that you're staying healthy and all kinds of stuff like that, you will find things that kind of make it go faster. And I mean, I do see it just helping you synthesize ideas and vibes that you want. I don't like just putting the prompt in and then that's my song. I don't like that at all, but I do like that, you know, it's pretty cool. And with, you know, UDIO, when I used it, I've gotten it to provide some really, really great results, some really cool sounding songs where I've heard them and I was like, oh my gosh, like I would listen to that band right now when I heard a song and I was like, where are they so I can go follow them right now? It was so good because it's putting in the music. And that's where I think because it's only where it's at. It's only been out for like a couple of months. So imagine where UDIO is going to be, or the next one that we haven't even seen being released is going to be like in 6 months. Like it's going to be so much better. And what I liked about it is I actually found myself making songs, downloading them, and then putting them in my player, and I listened to them because I thought they were so good. I have like 2 songs I listened to like a few times. I was like, this is really good. Like I would love to follow a band that was like this, because it wasn't necessarily copying something, but it was great. So I do see it for, you know, potential for listeners creating their own music and not just being stuck with, you know, mainstream or whatever limited choices that they have for, you know, new music as they see them.
All right, quick question as it relates to real music and real songs. Can you register your original song with the Library of Congress that has been created on social media for 10 years? Yeah, if it's already been out for a while, you can still go and register. Really kind of the urgency is for statutory damages. So, you know, you want to make sure you register as soon as possible, usually within like a month of the song being officially released to the world in one way or another. But either way, it's a requirement for you to enforce your copyright. So just go and get it as soon as possible, whether it's been, you know, 10 years or any other time.
I'm going to jet through some of these comments. These are really good back-to-back ones. Really great thoughts. As a club DJ, also, I don't want to buy AI music. How is it going to be? Well, actually, I read that kind of differently. I see AI music being used a lot in clubs. I actually seeing it for blending when you're just trying to get like backbeats for stuff and DJs are kind of mixing to help create their own mixes. I mean, most of the time, you know, these DJs aren't making, I'm obviously not talking about all the producer DJs, but I'm saying a lot of these guys aren't making their own things. And just for a way for DJs to kind of help blend their songs when they're doing it, I totally see that. TV shows could just use AI and bypass the sync process. This is where I think it's going to hit the hardest. I see the job of the music supervisor changing from necessarily reaching out to all these other people and taking weeks and man hours to make sure that everybody has their songs cleared. I do see a lot of companies and trying to save money and screwing over artists, just having the music supervisor knowing what kind of music, or even the director or the editor knowing what kind of music it is there and just generating some songs, or have their own library of generating songs, curating for exactly what they need. You know, they could have 30 songs called Fast and the Furious for all the Fast and the Furious movies. You know what I'm saying? They could have new theme songs.
Chris says, everyone hating on AI should just turn off their cell phones.
It's already been incorporated in our lives and everything. Everybody uses ChatGPT. Your phone has AI on it. Meta is made it so you can't even remove AI from your chat. It's incorporated. It's literally everywhere has some form of AI. Like everything is AI.
Yeah, right. All right, last one right here. So if you are producing music all on your own, no samples, no AI, etc., do you still need to copyright your lyrics and music? Yeah. So the general rule right now is you need to copyright everything that you made yourself, okay? Because again, if you don't do that, if there's infringement that happens, then you go get the registration. It makes a difference with statutory damages, meaning you can get up to 150,000 in statutory damages per infringement if you had the registration before the infringement happened. If you get the registration after the infringement happens, you can just go after real damages, like actual damages, which might be like $10. It might be $100. It might be $5,000. So for me, as like a copyright attorney, I'm telling you, it can make the difference of like millions of dollars. So that's why you want to make sure that you do this. And guys, I see a couple more of you signed up for the Chord. Right. So glad for you to be in the program. Like,
remember the first 25, yeah.
First 25, I'm going to be working with you directly. So I'm super excited to work with you guys. Awesome.
So there was a few more. We're not getting to everything. Obviously, this is an ongoing AI conversation that we're having. But drop the ones that we missed. Like I want to hear on this video. I want to see like what you guys are thinking. I want to hear your for it and against it. Like I said, I'm kind of just dead in the middle. Like I see it as a tool, like everything else. The more I think about it, the more I just and just trying to come with the acceptance. But I really want to hear your guys' thought. If you plan on using it, if you are using it, how you're using it, how it makes you get that feeling in your stomach when you're using it. Like, do you feel cheesy? I know I felt cheesy when I was using when I first saw Chord generators. I don't use them like all the time, but like I do use them from time to time. And that was like a whole thing where I was just like, but I was like, it was so much faster to get out my ideas than just drawing the MIDI notes myself and like figuring it out. Like, because that's what I would do. I'm not a great piano player, so I just kind of sound out all the stuff and draw them out, and kind of saved me a little bit of time.
Tony, we'll end on this because I just love this so much. So I mentioned this earlier today when I was chatting with that other YouTube channel. And I go on that Blurred Lines lawsuit, right? That was the first time, that was the first case that we had where it was a copyright infringement case. Because copyright infringement is about plagiarism. It's about that they took something without authorization from something else. And that something else was the Marvin Gaye song. It was, and we were talking about the new song, which is Blurred Lines, which is Pharrell Williams, Robin Thicke, all that. And they lost. The Blurred Lines team lost. Marvin Gaye team won. And it was the first time that there had been a ruling where they go, the sound and feel of it is enough for us to find copyright infringement. And so a lot of people were really upset about this. They're like, this is kind of bullshit because there was no note progression, no chord progression, no word progression. There was nothing that the jury could point to say that it was actually copied. They just go, no, we think they ripped off this song. So to your point, I kind of mentioned that on what about AI going and coming up with the look and feel of your music without licensing anything from you, without paying you. And that's part of this discussion. So what I anticipate is going to happen is that we have all kinds of lawsuits being filed because there are people who are interested in having AI recognized and given copyright protection. And so will it happen in the future? And obviously what's going to happen in between now and then with not only UDIO, but other new music platforms with our, with AI generation that are emerging. We will keep you posted.
Stay creative.